Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot, and I'm on with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the city of Wakefield. Now I'm starting this one next to a huge lake. Take a look at this. Not just any old lake this. Plenty of things going on this one. We've got a little pier down there. Plenty of swans and geese, ducks and things flying around. This is part of a massive country park to the west of Wakefield. This is Pugneys Country Park, and it just forms just one of the little areas you can find if you come to the parish of Kriggleston. Parish of Kriegleston for you today, and we begin our trip around one of Western Wakefield's largest at Pugneys Country Park. Pugneys Country Park is a 250-acre park located on the A636 between Wakefield and Junction 39 of the M1 motorway. This is a local nature reserve. The area was developed from a former opencast mine and a sand and gravel quarry and was opened to the public in 1985. It's overlooked by Sandal Castle. The park comprises two lakes, the larger of which is dedicated to non-powered water sports, and the smaller lake is designated as a nature reserve. A 7¼ gauge miniature railway runs around part of the larger lake, and it operates on weekends and bank holidays, and there's cafeteria facilities available here too. The nature reserve is home to a large flock of non-breeding swans with up to 100 in residence at any time. The lakes serve as a flood defence by providing an overflow from the nearby River Calder. A popular local spot for exercise and recreation, Pugnese does have car parking charges, but the first 2 hours are free. So Pugnese is overlooked by Sandal Castle, which is actually in an unparished area, which means we won't see it on the channel. However, you can see it from here. I think it's that mound in the very far distance over there. So in much the same way as neighbouring Sitlington, Kriegleston is also split into a few different areas. We're going to go around each of them in turn, starting with Durka. Our first settlement to have a proper look at in Kriggleston is Durka, which is right next to Pugneys Country Park. Often, Pugneys Country Park is considered part of Durka, and some Durka residents will also tell you that Sandal Castle is also a Durka landmark. A small village in the southwestern suburbs of Wakefield, the name Durka derives from the Norse drit, kjarr, meaning dirt marsh. Durka is bordered by Kriggleston to the southwest and Chapelthorpe to the east. The village lies on the main arterial road into Wakefield, the A636, and adjacent to Junction 39 of the M1 motorway. So here on this roundabout there's a handy sign, and this basically tells us all the settlements that are in Kriggleston parish. You've got Durka, Kriggleston itself, Chapelthorpe, only part of Chapelthorpe is in Kriggleston, and Hall Green. There are two that aren't listed. One of them is Calder Grove and the other one is Newmillerdam, and you might remember Newmillerdam from the Cheviot episode. We'll be finishing this video there at Newmillerdam Country Park, albeit from the other side of the lake that we saw in that episode. You may have noticed how many of the settlement names around here end in Thorpe, like Chapelthorpe does. This is of Viking origin. Indeed, some of the more local names of Kriegleston's neighbours and many areas within the parish can be traced back to that time. The city of Leeds is only 10 miles away to the north, Sheffield is 19 miles away to the south, and Manchester 30 miles away to the southwest. The local public house is the New Inn, located on Denby Dale Road East. As well as the pub, there's a local chippy on this road named Durka Fisheries, right next to one of the many local bus stops. Durka's nearest secondary school is Chapelthorpe High, and primary school children generally attend St James's Junior School in Kriegleston. There's also a shop which stands next to an old Methodist chapel which closed for worship in the early 1990s. According to the locals, this is now being used as a photographic business. Generally speaking, Durka is a very residential area of Kriggleston Parish. Regular viewers may remember the South Normanton episode of the Bolsover series and how, when the M1 was built, connecting what is now Junction 18 up with Leeds, how its very creation severed the local roads in two. The same thing happened here. Denby Dale Road is now in two sections, east and west. This is east, with west being on the opposite side of the M1 in Calder Grove. So, as mentioned earlier when we were at the sign at the roundabout, there's an area called Calder Grove here in Kriggleston, and it's on the other side of the motorway here. Now, from what I can tell, it's generally residential, so I'm not going to go and visit that. I'm next going to go down into Kriggleston itself and explore what's there. Kriggleston itself is next, midway between Durka and Chapelthorpe. It's recorded as Kriegleston along with neighbouring Aubery in the Domesday Book. This is the settlement that gives the parish of Kriggleston its name, a civil parish which has a population of 9,271 at the 2011 census. The first thing to see here is St James's School, which most of the children from Kriggleston and Durka attend. Kriggleston is situated about 4 miles southwest of Wakefield and 10 miles north of Barnsley, covering just a small part of the wider Kriggleston parish. In all, the boundaries cover a large chunk of the west of Wakefield, totalling some 10.76 square kilometres. Kriggleston is close to Wakefield Crematorium, which is in fact over the border and into Chapelthorpe. The crematorium is just one of two within the city of Wakefield, the other being located in Pontefract. Between them, the two crematorium carry out more than 3,000 cremations every year. Now we're onto the High Street, which is where we come across most of the village's amenities, including Kriggleston Working Men's Club, or Crig Club as it's known. Directly opposite this is Kriggleston Nursery School, situated in a building shared with Kriggleston Daycare Private Nursery. The Village Institute now, which is where we find Kriggleston's parish notice board. The standard hire charge is £10.50 per hour for the building, and it benefits from on-site parking at the rear. It has ramped access to the front door and emergency exits, and it even has a wheelchair accessible toilet. The Village Institute currently hosts regular classes in calligraphy, painting, zumba, yoga, and a variety of classes for babies, toddlers, and children. Following on from this is the Methodist Church. And then we come across an industrial estate. With industry in mind, Kriegleston is yet another village within Wakefield with a mining history, albeit a little less prominent than some of its neighbours. In a short while, we'll see what remains of Kriggleston Colliery. There's a fair selection of shops all around the parish, but the main one I could find was this Tesco Express on the high street. Kriggleston is well served healthcare wise, and it has a dental surgery too, almost opposite that Tesco. As we head back down this path towards where I parked my car close to the school, let's talk demographics. Kriggleston Parish is made up of 96.7% white British citizens, and unlike some of its neighbours, Kriggleston has a broad selection of other ethnicities, the largest of these being Asian at 1.1%. The area boasts a population density of 907.8, and the average price for a house in this part of Wakefield comes in at £203,000. Kriggleston once had 2 railway stations, both of which are now closed. These days, public transport for the area is provided by bus, and there are 7 buses serving the area. These mostly go to Wakefield, all apart from one that terminates in Thorpe. In the other direction, destinations include Barnsley, Darton and West Breton. So Kriggleston is much bigger than what I've shown you, the actual settlement of Kriggleston. I've just basically walked down the high street and then used this path to get back to where I parked the car. The next place to go is Chapelthorpe. Now, only part of Chapelthorpe falls within Kriggleston Parish, and the part that does involves the church. Let's go and find that next. Just before we hit the church, we have to pass a small park, so I stopped to have a look. This is part of the site of the former Kriggleston Colliery. Since the 1970s, the site of the colliery has become an industrial estate on the western side, giving way to residential housing on the eastern side, and a public amenity in the form of this park, named Betty Eastwood Park, to the south. On the 29th of July 1941, an explosion occurred at Kriggleston Colliery which killed 21 men. This area has 2 Anglican churches. Here we are at one of them, the Church of St James in Chapelthorpe. This is a Grade 2 listed building on Church Lane. This church had been built by 1771 and was enlarged by adding the chancel and sanctuary in 1882. The chancel is known as Barber's Chancel after the man who carried out that work. Barber's Chancel took up 178 square yards of the churchyard and increased the interior length of the building to 94 feet. However, the building burned down in 1951 and was rebuilt with the original 17th and 19th century stone walls and openings. Barber's exterior survives, rebuilt with the same materials and to the same plan. Chapelthorpe Hall, which was once the site of the Wakefield Independent School, is a Grade 2 listed building. Once home to Wakefield's wealthiest families until it was converted to a school in 1980, in more recent times it's been used as offices for an IT firm, amongst others. Having been put on the market at a guide price of £1.75 million in 2017, the property's owner has now asked for planning permission to convert it back to a single home, as it was originally. It's situated at the end of this road. A private property where I am here is still a public road, but I opted not to walk down this too far in case it looked in any way intrusive. So it's worth noting that St James's Church is not the only church that falls within the parish of Kriggleston. There's actually one in Calder Grove. I'll include a picture of that in today's picture bit. Okay, next is Hall Green, which is another very residential part of Kriggleston. The camera is going on the dashboard for this bit because this is the bit I'm going to use for a drive around. Let's go. Our drive around Hall Green ends up here at the Kriggleston Sports and Social Club at the home of Hall Green United on Thorpe Lane. Hall Green United is a football club that's been in the village of Hall Green since it emerged from the dissolution of Hall Green Athletic in 1969. The seniors currently compete in the West Yorkshire Amateur League, with the juniors competing in the well-respected Huddersfield and District Junior League. On the other side of the road we have the Sports and Social Club, which is the base for Criggleston Cricket Club, a fairly recently formed club playing in the Pontefract and District Cricket League, Division 6. Okay, I think that just leaves us with Newmillerdam, and before I go there, you guys need a picture bit, and that's coming your way right now. And we're back at Newmillerdam once again. You might remember this from the Cheviot episode. We're on the other side of the lake that we came across in that episode, right here. This is classed as both a village and a suburb of Wakefield. The name refers to the lake and the country park adjacent to the village. Like Pugnese, the park is a local nature reserve. Newmillerdam was formerly known as Thurstonhay, but the village is currently named from the construction of a grain mill powered by water from the dammed lake, and thus the name is derived New Mill on the Dam. The mill still stands, although it's non-operational and privately owned. It was originally owned and operated by the Pashley family, who lived in the village until the 1980s. Well, this is all very familiar, isn't it? You will have seen this if you watched the Cheviot episode. In that episode I was over there where the boathouse is, just underneath my finger now in shot, and then there's a path there which is what I walked down and then went through the trees and across into the parish of Cheviot. I'm on the other side of the lake this time, and the parish boundaries do something a bit strange here. You can see this building ahead of me. That's where the boundary is, just beyond that building. So Kriegleston doesn't include the Dam Inn, which is a pub up there, but I'm going to go up there anyway and take a few shots of that area, because I don't think it's fair to leave that out just because it doesn't fall within the parish of Kriegleston. It's right there in front of me, and I think it would benefit both you, me and everybody watching this video if I did go up there and just take a couple of shots of it. Pashleys owned many local businesses during the centuries, which included blacksmiths, coal mines, and even a furniture making business. The Pashley family were also Methodists and were provided money to build 2 chapels in the village. The chapels are situated on School Hill and Barnsley Road. Here's the one on Barnsley Road. The Pashley reference is noted by the dedication stones to William M. Pashley. The family also funded and built Newmillerdam School, which is located on School Hill. Newmillerdam also used to have a colliery. This was close to Hall Green and it closed in 1981. Okay, ladies and gents, I think that will do me for the parish of Kriggleston, one of Wakefield's largest, but honestly, one of Wakefield's most enjoyable, I think. I've enjoyed my little trail around all these little places in Kriggleston parish, ending here at Newmillerdam. It's kind of funny, you know, I started at Pugnese and I ended here. I've actually gone from a country park to a country park. That's just the way it goes. Some are bigger than others, as you know. Some are tiny, some are massive. And this is certainly on the massive end of things. And there you go. And if you want to come to Newmillerdam, by the way, the parking charges are the same as Pugnese. It's up to 2 hours free. So you can park here for 2 hours. As long as you get a ticket from the machine, you're fine. Although today the machine is not in use, so I couldn't do that. But there we go. Right, I'm going to move on to my next parish in Wakefield now, which means going over to the other side of the city, because the ones that are left, the 5 that are left now, are all in one great big line between South Kirby and Moorthorpe and Normanton. If you look at the map, it just looks like a long slither of parishes right down the centre of the city, down the centre of the district, I should say. And there we go. I'm off to my next one. This has been the parish of Kriggleston, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.